Last night, Johnny Cueto made his return to Cincinnati and got roughed up by the Reds before the Giants made a spirited comeback to take Game 1 of the series. Jeff Samardzija has been pitching with confidence, and tonight he tries to pitch San Francisco to their third straight win. The Giants, the Reds, and it's coming up next. We've got another night in Cincinnati as we come to you from Great American Ballpark, Game 2 of this 3-game series, Giants and Reds. Hi again, everybody. I'm Dwayne Kuiper. Alongside me is Mike Krukow. A nice come-from-behind win for the Giants last night. And tonight they're going to hand the ball to Jeff Samardzija. Hasn't had great luck in this ballpark, but he's thrown the ball well.
Well, he hasn't had great luck at this ballpark because they really haven't scored a lot of runs for him. And that kind of was his reputation with every team he was on prior to getting to the Giants. Since he's come over here, they have solved that problem. Now, if you look at the Giants historically in this ballpark, they're under 500, 20 and 23, but they've won their last 4 games. And in those 4 games, they've averaged over 9 runs. So maybe they found the formula offensively, and whatever offense they can give Jeff Samardzija, he would appreciate.
Gregor Blanco gets a start tonight. He is in left field hitting 8th. All right, stay tuned. We'll take you to our CSN Bay Area studios for an update, and we'll do that right after this.
Giants baseball on CSN Bay Area is brought to you by Jack in the Box. Taste the Baconlicious Sourdough Bacon Ranch Combo only at Jack in the Box. And by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places.
Back here in Cincinnati at Great American Ballpark, we're waiting for the Reds to take the field. Our game time weather tonight is presented by the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. The boardwalk is open. Visit beachboardwalk.com for park hours. 58 degrees here at the park. Very light winds. Humidity at 65%, and it is cloudy. All right, let's take a look at the Giants lineup. Facing John Lamb, it'll be Span, Duffy, Posey, Pence, and then Brandon Belt, and he's hot right now, followed by Crawford. Tomlinson will hit 7th, Blanco 8th, and Samardzija will hit 9th.
On the hill tonight for the Cincinnati Reds will be the left-hander John Lamb, 25 years old, 6'4", 205-pounder. He's got 54 days in the big leagues. This will be his season debut. He's just getting off the disabled list from a back repair. He had a surgery to repair a disc in his lower back. So this is where his season starts tonight. When you take your at-bats against him, you're going to see a low 90s cut, really good changeup. He's got kind of a slurry breaking ball. This is what he did last year in 10 starts, 1-5 with a 5.80 ERA. But look at the strikeouts, 58 and 49 and 2/3 innings. He's got good stuff, and it will really bore in hard on a righty. He'll like that side of the plate, the third base side of the plate. But his changeup's working. I mean, he can be a tough customer to hit off of. Let's take a look at the defense playing behind John Lamb tonight for the Reds in their outfield from left to right. It'll be Duvall, Hamilton, and Bruce. Good arms across the board, all plus arms in the outfield. DeJesus and Suarez on the left side of the infield. Phillips and Votto on the right side. Tucker Barnhart, he'll be in the squad putting down the signs. Right now it's time for our Nissan keys to the game. Number one, keep that offense grinding. They have been so good at getting pitches out of the opposing starting pitchers. That has become one of their strengths. Keep that grinding going. Number two, Samardzija versus Hamilton. Billy Hamilton on top of the lineup. I mean, he's had great success against Samardzija, 5 for 10 with 2 doubles and a homer. And you got to keep that guy and his speed off the base paths. Those are our Nissan keys to the game.
So here's Span. Span hitting at 242, and the first pitch of the ball game is a call strike. So we get started at 7-11. Span fouls it out of play. 1 for 5 last night with an RBI for Denard Span. Fairchild behind the plate. It'll be Joyce, Hudson, and Hoy from first to third.
Not a really easy strike zone to pitch to when you have Chad Fairchild, the plate umpire, behind the plate. It's kind of a rule book zone. In that he will call knees, he will call belts. He doesn't give you many corners, but the belts are inconsistent. It can be a frustrating strike zone to pitch to.
Span stays alive. Duffy to follow. Giants are 1 game over 500. That's the best mark in the National League West. 1 game under 500 on the road. This year they're 6-7. In tight 2-2. They played 4 games against the National League Central. Remember, they took 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee and the win last night. One more game tomorrow, and then the Giants will be home for the weekend. Strike 3 call to Span. So this game gets started with a strikeout. And that'll bring up Duffy. Duffy had a tough night last night. He went 0 for 4. Still had some pretty good at bats.
Not a lot of wind in this ballpark right now, and there's Carey from foul line to foul line. It is a hitter's ballpark, but not as hot as we normally see it.
Could be playable for Votto or Phillips, and it'll be Votto who makes the catch.
Nice play.
So Duffy retired. Sorry about the video. We've lost our video here in Cincinnati. We will get that back as fast as we can. Here's Buster Posey hitting at 294 and the pitch. Posey takes a high breaking ball for a call strike. I guess we're back. Posey rolls this one foul as he was out in front of an off-speed pitch, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, that's the changeup, and that is his best specialty pitch. When he gets it going, he can live off that cut fastball in the low 90s and that changeup.
Posey hammers it to left, and this is off the bottom of the wall. Mr. Posey digging for two, and he'll make it. It's a 2-out double for Buster Posey.
John Lamb got that ball up right across the letters. Posey just top-handed it into left field. Watch him smother this high fastball. Boy, he stayed inside it beautifully. And when you stay inside, it doesn't hook.
Here's Pence. Hunter Pence last night 1 for 4. And he looks at a strike, and it's 0-1. Overall this year, 292 for Hunter Pence. 5 home runs, 22 runs batted in. And the 22 runs batted in leads the team.
Mentioned Lamb, a tall guy, 6'4", lanky, 200 pounds, 205 pounds, but really lazy arm action. And his fastball, it doesn't impress you that much with his velocity. It'll be low 90s, but it seems much faster because of the lazy arm.
Down the left field line, and a fair ball. Posey scores. Pence with an RBI double. It's 1-0. Did not know if that ball was going to stay fair or not.
Yeah, and he beat a good pitch. That was not a hanger. And when he goes down and gets this, not a lot of lower body in this. I mean, there's some reach there. Gives you an idea of how much plate coverage he has right now. And 10 days ago, he could not do this. He was pulling off that outside part of the plate. Now he is on fire.
Here's Belt. Belt at 310. 19 runs batted in. Overshift is on for Belt. And he jumps back out of the way. 1 ball and no strikes.
And there's the mark that the line drive off the bat, 100 Pence left. Fair by about a yard.
Big slow breaking ball, 2-0.
And how close was it? There it is. An easy score with 2 outs for Posey. Not much Adam Duvall could do about it.
Three and 0. Belt had 3 hits last night. Jacked his average up to 310. And it's 3-1. Belt taking all the way. And the walk, so Crawford's going to hit.
Giants putting the pressure on Lamb. Lamb's got a connection to baseball. His grandfather was the public address announcer for every sport in Los Angeles, and John Miller does a great impression of John Lamb's grandfather, John Ramsey. Your attention, please. Will you please rise? That was this kid's grandfather.
That might be better than John's. So here's Crawford.
The legendary John Ramsey.
Crawford hit a big 3-run home run in the game last night. Here he takes wide.
Well, it's time for our Togo's big play. The Togo's way last night's Brandon Crawford's 3-run homer off Drew Hayes at the top of the 7th that turned things around for the Giants, put them on top. They'd never look back. That was the big swing of the night.
Oh, they're going to say that's a fair ball, and that's going to end the inning. So Votto wrestles that one off the bat of Crawford. Giants on the board. Samardzija coming out. And here's the lineup that Samardzija is going to face. It'll be the very speedy Billy Hamilton to lead it off, followed by DeJesus, Votto, and then Brandon Phillips, the cleanup hitter. See what he's done at home. Bruce Suarez, and then the former Giant Adam Duvall. Tucker Barnhart will hit 8th, and John Lamb will hit 9th.
On the hill tonight for the Giants will be the big right-hander Jeff Samardzija, 6'5", 225-pounder. He's 31 years old in his 7th year at the big league level. And this is what he has done in a Giants uniform. His 5 starts, 3-1 with a 3.86 ERA. 26 strikeouts against 10 walks and 32 2/3. And when you take your at-bats against Samardzija, you're going to see a low to high 90s fastball, depending on the grip. He will sink the ball. He will cut the ball. It's hard for him to throw the ball straight. He also has a slider and a circle change. Lifetime against these Reds, 1-5 with a 4.30 ERA.
So here's Hamilton. Hamilton 1 for 4 in the game last night, and he takes a strike. Does have a little bit of ownage on Samardzija. 5 for 10, 2 doubles, a home run. I think Mike mentioned that as one of the keys. Yes, he went around, says James Hoy.
Good quick slider.
There's the ownage.
Well, not only 5 for 10, you don't think of him as a guy who's going to hit a lot of extra base hits. He got the 2 doubles and a home run off Samardzija.
And went at him with a high fastball. It's 1-2.
By design. And those are things you look for early in a game, is what type of fastball command a guy has. If he's hitting the knee-high location, can he elevate the fastball?
And let's pull on the ground. Foul.
And with that pitch, he just established the cutter. So we've seen the velocity. We've seen him having the ability to pitch low and pitch high with it. He's got a slider. He's got some tools tonight.
Duffy now will have to hurry, and they got him.
He does not give you much time, does he?
Not at all.
Let's look at that Giants defense behind Samardzija tonight. In the Giants outfield, from left to right, it'll be Blanco, Span, and Pence, the best arm in right field. Crawford and Duffy on the left side of the infield. Tomlinson and Bell on the right side. And Buster Posey, he'll be in the squad, putting down the signs. And let's watch Billy Hamilton scoot down that line. Not a lot of backswing. And it's just a foot race. That's 3.9 speed.
And a breaking ball to Ivan DeJesus and a call strike.
That's as good a slider as he's had in a Giants uniform.
DeJesus at 171. Tries to paint the outside corner at 94.
When he has troubles, it's when he cannot establish the knee-high location. He's up. Something they've worked a lot on. Slowing the motion down, allowing his upper body to basically catch up with his lower body. I mean, it's a problem if you're 6'5" and you got long legs like Samardzija has. Sometimes that lower body will come out early and the upper body's just not in sync. And when that happens, he usually starts to miss high.
Good pitch, 2-2.
When he's coming out in one piece, it allows him to get his hand out in front. Big upper body turn allows him to get gathered on that back leg. That big turn is essential for him to stay gathered as he opens up in one piece. You look at that shoulder and the left shoulder and his left hip. You want to see them unfold at the same time. And when that left foot drops and hits the dirt, that hand has got to be in a real high position. Those are his mechanical keys.
And he stays alive with a pop-up out of play. DeJesus had a couple of hits last night in 3 at-bats. Also drew a walk, so he was on base 3 times. And another payoff pitch. Here it is. And it's high down the right field line. Pence will give chase, but it's going to be in the seats.
Don't hurt my dog.
This is the 8th pitch coming. Yeah, this had a nice parade before the game with all the fans who brought their dogs.
It's Bark in the Park Day here at Great American Ballpark.
That foul again.
Well, DeJesus is grinding, and he's getting some pitches out of Samardzija.
So this will be the 9th pitch coming up. And the guy on deck also will see a lot of pitches. And that's Joey Votto.
Pitching coaches hate a lot of pitches in one at bat. 10 pitch at bats, nightmares.
And then you walk up, and then that really ticks you off.
Well, and with DeJesus, you're also walking a base stealer.
So here's Votto. Votto last night had 1 hit, and it was a ball that he hit out to center field for a 3-run home run. Comes in at .230 with 3 home runs, 15 driven in. And a strike. Got 31 lifetime at bats against Samardzija with 6 hits.
Eight walks.
Oh, and 2. Let's look at the location on this pitch.
Well, it was a 3-2 challenge. And boy, I tell you, he cannot hit a ball any harder out to center field. I mean, that went out to the second tier out there of the green monster. The grass behind the center field wall.
Well, Votto took the first two. You can see chokes up a little bit. Got him. Ooh.
And that's the slider that's the cutter at 93. And you don't see Joey Votto take many swings like this, especially in a 2-strike. He's already made the adjustment. I'm going to get quick, and that just absolutely ate his lunch. Wow. And what does that is late, quick movement.
Here's Phillips.
Take a swing like that, you walk back to the dugout and ask your teammates, do you think anybody saw that?
Yeah. Phillips 1 for 4 last night. Foul back. See if DeJesus now has any idea of going with 2 outs.
I'm thinking it's go time. They've got 20 stolen bases as a team, man. The Giants have 12, so you know they definitely believe in the stolen base. Bruce Bochy's thinking it's go time. That was called by the bench. Bird's got good seats. Just sitting there in a wire watching the game.
0-1 to Phillips. DeJesus does not go. 0-2.
That's another broken down swing. So we always talk about the movement, the late little hop that Samardzija has in his stuff. And boy, we've seen it in the middle of this lineup once from Votto and here with Phillips.
Got him on 3 pitches. Samardzija strikes out Votto and Phillips. Shut down inning after 1. Giants 1, Reds nothing.
CSN Bay Area is brought to you by AAA. Get a free Giants all-season blanket. Restrictions apply. Go to AAA.com/Giants or to a AAA branch for details.
Well, check out Tuesday, May 10th is Japanese Heritage Night presented by Magnaflex. Your special event package will include tickets to the Giants take on the Blue Jays and access to the Japanese Heritage pregame. Be a pregame party and a limited edition Japanese Giants t-shirt. Go to sfgiants.com/special events and check it out.
Tomlinson and the 1-0 and a strike. Tomlinson, Blanco, Samardzija. Pence with an RBI double in the first. That came after Buster Posey's double. And there's a bunt third base side, and this is going to be a hit.
That is perfection.
I mentioned that Posey and Pence were really good friends.
You know, I've heard that. Let's make this bunt our Ford right choice. And why not? Show it late. He saw that they were playing him back at third base with Suarez, the third baseman. It was going to be John Lamb. The left-hander will fall towards the third base side, so he will get over there a little bit quicker. But that bunt was so good, even if he catches it, he ain't going to make a play. That is our Ford right choice.
Gregor Blanco had 344. Had one of the big hits last night. And he takes the first pitch wide, 1 ball and no strikes. Samardzija to follow. Lamb to the plate. Nope. 2-0. Not going to get that pitch on the inside part of the plate.
Well, you know, he's inconsistent with it. And I think more often than not, you're not going to get it. But remember, that's the pitch he called out Denard Span on. Exact same location. And that's the inconsistency in Fairchild's corners. And they can frustrate you.
Blanco pops it up. Duvall coming in from left field, and he'll make the catch. Yeah, here at the ballpark moments ago, the PA announcer here introduced Johnny Cueto to the crowd.
Gunner Pitts, he's whooping and hollering. But it was a very nice gesture, and he got a wonderful applause. That means the world to a player.
He's got a great smile. Here's Samardzija. Will he bunt or will he swing the bat? And he pulls it foul. I was going to say, judging by his batting practice, he's going to swing the bat.
He's going to swing. He might hit fourth, judging by his batting practice.
He hit a couple over the bullpen here.
And why do they applaud Johnny Cueto? Well, look at his numbers. 92 and 63 here. A 3.21 ERA, of All-Star. He finished the top 5 in Cy Young voting twice.
Tomlinson goes in a double clutch by Barnhart, and that's a stolen base, his 3rd of the year.
Cueto was their ace, and he was the first Reds right-hander to win 20 games since Sammy Ellis and Jim Maloney did it in 1965, and with an ERA of 2.25. And in this ballpark, they ought to build a statue for you. So they will not forget Johnny Cueto anytime soon here in Cincinnati. Saw one of the guys that he was traded for last night, Brandon Finnegan, and here's another guy, John Lamb, came over from Kansas City last year.
By the way, we shouldn't forget that Cueto really helped the Giants in 2012. You know how he helped them? He got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. Strained his oblique. He had to come out of a ball game in the first inning.
He definitely would have seen him later on in game 4 or 5 in that series if he hadn't got hurt. Samardzija strikes out swinging.
This was that injury.
Yeah, Dusty Baker came out. You see, the pitching coach then was Brian Price.
I mean, it had to be a gut-wrenching moment for Dusty Baker and the Reds and for Johnny Cueto. Come all that way and then get injured in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Reds smoked the Giants in those first 2 games.
In San Francisco.
Span opened up the game with a strikeout, and it was a strikeout looking. This time he takes high and wide to even the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Giants on top 1-0. And a pickoff play, and just getting back is Tomlinson.
That was a perfect throw to the bag. All De Jesus had to do was catch it. Tomlinson just did beat it back. April, early May, that's when you see the most pickoffs. Come out of spring training, everybody practices pickoffs. After the first month and a half or so of the season, they kind of calm down a little bit. But we've seen a lot of them this year.
Span rolls this one to second, and that's going to end the inning. Giants strand Tomlinson. It remains 1-0.
Two stories on this date, 1980. That's when Willie McCovey hit the 521st and final home run of his brilliant career, to tie him with Ted Williams on the all-time list. McCovey also joined Williams as the first 2 players to hit a home run in 4 different decades. 4 players all-time with 4 home runs in different decades: Ted Williams, Willie McCovey, Ricky Henderson, and Omar Vizquel. And that's our McDonald's Two Stories.
So here's Jay Bruce, who looks at a pitch down low. Jay Bruce coming in at 256. Off the line at third is Duffy, and Bruce hits a high pop-up into left field. It's Blanco calling off Crawford, and Blanco puts it away. I don't think anybody would be insulted in the Giants outfield if we said Blanco defensively was the best left fielder they had, the best center fielder they had, and the best right fielder they had.
No. You would get no argument.
That's how good that kid is.
I mean, he really has had a great career as a Giant.
Here's Suarez, Eugenio Suarez, the third baseman, and he looks at a strike.
And the other thing too about Gregor Blanco is he plays in a city that appreciates what he's done and how he's done it.
And center fielders, they appreciate it.
Yeah.
When you were raised watching the brilliance in center field of Willie Mays, that sets up a tough tradition for anybody that follows.
It is. The bar was set rather high.
And that's pulled on the ground, foul. There's play.
Oh yeah. Tell with the way she breaks in her glove, she's definitely got a clue.
Yeah, this is not the first play that she's ever made.
Got it. Not a problem. Not a bit.
1-2 to Suarez. Got him.
Now that's two-seam movement at 97. A little
97
extra, and you see the little extra in the two-strike. This thing comes right back into the strike zone and nails the outside location. Man, that is just flat out nasty. And Suarez cannot pull the trigger. Third strikeout for Samardzija.
Here's the former Giant, Adam Duvall. He's got lots of power. And that'll roll to the backstop.
You know, and really the Giants, in trading him over here to Cincinnati, it could not have been a better place for Duvall to come to him. He's from Louisville, Kentucky. It's about 45 minutes away.
Cost you on tickets a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah. Good sink at 96.
I think he's just getting loose.
I mean, he's got it dialed in right now. Remember that Adam Duvall came over here to Cincinnati in the trade that brought Mike Leake to the Giants last year at the trade deadline.
Crawford charging, and he will throw him out on a broken bat grounder, and that'll end the inning. Big fellas are coming up. Duffy, Posey, Pence, and Belt. It's 1-0 Giants.
On CSN Bay Area is brought to you by Amici's East Coast Pizzeria. When you want the best pizza in town, Amici's delivers.
Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. It includes free subscription to At Bat Premium. Visit MLB.TV for details. Duffy takes low and in. No swing. 1-0 Giants here in the 3rd inning. There's some Giants fans getting after it with the cotton candy. Duffy popped out to Joey Votto. Buster Posey to follow. And a strike. Maybe a little better crowd today. That's my call. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
Good off-speed pitch. John Lamb from Southern California, Laguna Hills.
You know where that is?
Yeah.
You've never said no when I ask you that.
It's about halfway between LA and San Diego, right on the coast.
Hit right back to where it came from. Duffy's retired. Well, can you surf there?
Oh yeah. Great surf.
Are there sharks there?
No.
Here's Posey, who doubled on the left field line in the 1st inning. Eventually scored. And he takes a strike, and it's 0-1.
Did you just hear this latest scientific discovery they had? There are no sharks anymore south of Bodega Bay.
Wow. It's good news. Low, 1 ball and 1 strike. In tight.
You'll see Lamb use that side of the plate a lot against righties, and he likes to cut that ball in.
The base hit for Buster Posey in the 1st inning gets him over 300. He's at 302. Down the right field line. And Buster Posey is going to have another double. As Jay Bruce digs it out, and it's a 2-bagger. Greater coverage of baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. June 9th, 2010 at Cincinnati. Buster Posey, first career home run, and it was off of Aaron Harang.
Second decker.
Pence doubled in Posey in the 1st. And he takes it low. 1 ball and no strikes.
2 doubles for Posey tonight. 1 down the left field line, 1 down the right field line. Both times he stayed inside the ball. And you think about it, his swing really is designed to beat cut from a left-hander like John Lamb.
Yeah, he doesn't break many bats on pitches in. He'll break them if he hits them off the end of the bat.
Yeah, that's true. Tough guy to jam.
Yeah, Lamb's got 2 left-handed hitters coming up. First base is open. Yeah, who knows?
Well, and he also knows that Pence is hot. I mean, he's the incumbent National League Player of the Week.
Three and 2. So now we may have action.
Well, he painted him right there, 3-1. It's not a pitch you want to launch into if you're sitting on a 3-1 count.
Foul back.
And he did well to fight that off. Another good location.
Outside corner.
They play the outfield against Hunter Pence absolutely straight up, and there's really not a lot of strange set in the infield either. Pretty conservative defense.
Center field. Hamilton has got room. Posey's going to tag. And Posey will get to third with 2 outs. Well, one of your all-time favorite calls happened last year with Brandon Belt at the plate. In one of those calls that I haven't heard the end of it from Javier Lopez. Here it is.
Well, let's hear it again.
And the pitch. And Bell hits a high drive foul down the right field line and out of play. Gone. It went over the foul pole, and it's a 3-run home run for Brandon Belt. How about that?
Wow.
How about that? Nice call.
That'll make him smile. He had a 1 for 13.
Here is Belt. And Belt takes outside. Went down to the clubhouse after the game, and Lopez had already figured it out how to get it into the speakers where everybody could hear it. And he played it and played it and played it and played it and played it.
You nailed it.
Belt skies this one to left, and this is going to end the inning. Side retired. So the Giants waste the Posey double. Foul. Gone.
Ball on CSN Bay Area is brought to you by Mr. Pickle's Sandwich Shop, where the aliens have landed and taken off with sandwiches.
Giants 1, Reds nothing. Bottom of inning number 3, the Reds have had 1 base runner. That was a walk to Ivan De Jesus. Couldn't be happier. Mom's supplying just about everything you could need. Here's Tucker Barnhart, who rolls this one to Tomlinson, and 1 pitch, 1 out.
Second inning in a row that Samardzija has started off the inning with 1 pitch, 1 out. Life is good when you're getting 1 pitch, 1 outs to start the inning.
So here's Lamb. Not because he's a lefty and he wears his uniform loose, but Lamb, just his body language reminds me of the spaceman Bill Lee.
Yeah, that's a good call.
faced Bill Lee a lot. And he was a good pitcher, man.
Yeah.
Plus, he could hit.
He could really hit. Still hitting. Still pitching.
I think he's playing somewhere.
Yeah, up in Boston, up in the Great North Woods someplace, or the Great Northeastern Woods.
I think he's playing in the no rotator cuff league over 70.
I think he is. But he loves it. I mean, he's just a baseball player.
'69, Bill Lee. There's a strikeout to Lamb.
Well, that's 4 strikeouts for Samardzija the first time through the lineup. He has been dominant.
Wasn't he in camp with us for like a month in spring training?
Bill Lee?
Yeah, because I remember he was kicking the football in old Scottsdale Stadium.
I don't know.
I think he was there as like a tryout. Yeah, he did. I think he came as an invite and was trying to get in shape. Because he came at me one day and he had a really angry look on his face. He'd heard me say in an interview that this is chopped and Crawford's going to have to hurry, and he will, and he'll make it.
Wow, Gold Glove play.
Side retired. Finished story later. Remember, he was angry. And was there a fight? You'll find out.
I'll remember.
Comes from Bruce Bochy and Josh Osich. He's getting his rhythm out there, his command. It looks like he's found himself, and he's done an outstanding job. He's a big part of our setup situation. He was last night, that's for sure.
Now he gets Joey Votto to hit into a double play that ends the threat. Joey Votto was not happy about it.
Crawford shoots this one foul down the left field line and out of play. So are you still hanging on to that that story that's really not going to have a great finish now?
Tell me about Bill Lee.
Crawford's going to hit this one out. Watch. Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike. So he'd heard me say that I'd like to be maybe the only guy to hit 1 home run in the American League and 1 home run in the National League. So I thought that would be really cool. Well, he came at me and said, I've already done it.
Yeah, well,
I was like, sorry, Bill.
Yeah.
I was really kind of just kidding. All right, well, don't say it again.
Well,
line drive, right field, base hit for Crawford. Got a breaking ball, and Bruce is going to dig out another one. And now Crawford. Well, he at least made Phillips throw. It'll be a double.
Well, remember, he swung through a breaking ball the pitch before, and Lamb throws it again. He hangs it up above the belt, and look at the lower body. It was not fooled. Good balance through the swing, and just rakes it down the corner. Now, Jay Bruce has an outstanding arm. Just off the crack of the bat, short porch, or short distance of the fence in right field. You think you're not going to try it, but watch what Crawford does. He swings around third base, and he draws a throw, and that's good base running.
So here's Tomlinson. And Tomlinson hits a little bloop to left, and Duvall is going to get there in time to put it away. And that'll bring up Blanco.
Yeah, what set that up is where the Reds had Duvall playing Tomlinson. They didn't show him a lot of respect. He was playing shallow.
Well,
it paid off.
Been nice to get Crawford to third. So here's Blanco. Blanco popped out in the second. Bounce to second. 2 outs. Crawford goes to third. Well, Samardzija can help himself. He struck out in the second. And a big curveball for a strike. Works quickly. Samardzija on the ground to DeJesus. And Lamb is going to pitch through a leadoff double. Giants strand another runner. We'll head to the bottom of the fourth. 1-0 Giants.
Copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the San Francisco Giants and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of San Francisco Baseball Associates, LLC.
Well, June has some highly anticipated interleague showdowns at AT&T Park. Tuesday, June 7th and Tuesday, June 8th. The Red Sox are coming to AT&T for a 2-game series. And on Monday, the 27th of June and Tuesday, the 28th, we welcome the Oakland Athletics to the other side of the bay. You want tickets? Go to sfgiants.com/tickets.
Samardzija's been good. He's allowed 1 base runner in 3 innings, and that was a walk to Ivan DeJesus, who's just going to happen to be the guy that's going to lead things off.
Well, this will be an interesting at bat, because if you think back to All three of these at-bats are going to be interesting. De Jesus had a 10-pitch walk. Votto struck out on the worst swing we've ever seen him take, as did Brandon Phillips. So you watch how big league hitters adjust to good stuff, and this will be an example of it in this inning.
First pitch is low. 1 ball and no strikes. 4 strikeouts and a walk for Jeff Samardzija. 1-0 Giants. And a strike. On deck is Votto. High and foul, upper deck. Yes.
Well, that makes it a good ballpark.
Remember Pablo hit one over the stadium, a foul ball?
I do. Not an easy thing to do.
Little flare to right. Pence coming in, and Pence makes the diving catch.
I didn't think he had any chance. And really, if you don't get a good jump, I mean, it's at least a base hit. If you dive, maybe more. But boy, his first step off the crack of the bat was almost the same time that the ball made a noise touching the bat. Just great instinctive first step there. Nice speed. Jeff Samardzija says thank you.
Here's Votto, who looks at a strike. Votto fouls it back. Votto struck out in the first inning.
He had a good swing right there. He was on him. He went and got a haircut between innings.
Got him. Votto's thinking, no, it's not a strike.
Well, Chad Fairchild says it is if I say it is. So grab some pine meat, extend the outside corner, and look at Posey. He didn't even move the glove.
And not a strike.
That's right down the middle.
That's what I would expect you to say.
But it is definitely a pitcher strike.
Phillips struck out in the first inning. And that pitch is high. Phillips at a big swing and a miss. Phillips at 268.
Well, he would definitely look at fastball there.
Yes, he was.
The cutter is what broke down the swing of Phillips in his last at bat. And the payout pitch he got him out was 96 mile an hour with cut. I don't know if that's even legal.
High at 96. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Two out, nobody on. Just pitch number 48 coming up. And that's hit out of play.
have quite the location down around the knees like we saw him have the first couple of innings. He's kind of gradually raised up in the strike zone with what he's throwing.
Oh, in and out of the glove of Buster Posey. Will do it again.
I mean, he keeps coming up with this 2-strike reach back velocity. That's a 98 with 2-seam movement. I don't know how Phillips got a piece of that. The only way you reach that type of velocity, have that type of command, and get that kind of movement is if your whip is cracking perfectly, and his arm slot is absolutely locked in.
Look out. And that's the first hit of the game for the Reds. And that is a comebacker.
That's a much easier location to defend when you raise it up just a little bit. And this is right across the letters. And Phillips takes a little swing, a little bit of swing off just to defend.
He doesn't do that very often.
No, he doesn't. This almost gets Samardzija. Look out, Shark. Just the second time that he's been in his stretch tonight. Bruce likes the first pitch. Buster Posey saw something the way that Phillips was inching off the bag at first base, and he signaled with his right hand to throw over.
There's a strike. Tomlinson out in shallow right field. Crawford playing Bruce to pull. Duffy playing Bruce to pull. Oh, 2.
It's that hand sign. Now, this is something that Posey sees looking down first base. It's not right. It's like, whoa, 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 go to first, go to first. Check him out.
That's the universal signal to throw to first.
Yeah.
By catchers.
Yeah, I would say so. It's the first time I've ever seen it, but that has to be universal.
You can understand that in any language. Phillips is thinking about going, but he doesn't. And that's just outside. 1-2.
Tried a little paralysis on the outside corner. The same pitch he struck out Joey Votto.
Tomlinson, it's going to be a tough play. He's got to hurry. Nice play. And that'll end the inning. Hunter Pence opened up the inning with a nice play to help out Samardzija. Hunter can do it. 5th inning coming up. 1-0 Giants.
on CSN Bay Area is brought to you by Heffernan Insurance Brokers. Insurance and financial services for you and your business. Visit hefins.com.
Giants with a 1-0 lead as Denard Span's going to lead things off. We do have a change for you. Now playing in center field is Tyler Holt. Span is 0 for 2. Span waits on the breaking ball and fouls it off of the catcher Barnhart, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. So Span trying to get on for Duffy. 1-0 Giants. Fouled again. Same pitch, same spot. It stays 1-2. Giants play tomorrow and then head home for a 4-game series against the Rockies. It feels like kind of a short trip, although weather tomorrow could determine whether it's a short trip or not. And a base hit to right field for Denard Span, right over Phillips.
Oh, you're right. It's supposed to storm tomorrow right around game time. 100% chance. But we heard the same thing about Sunday in New York. Giants got it in, so we'll see.
When I was a kid, asked my dad, is it going to rain? No. Meanwhile, it looked like it was just going to pour.
They were starting to pair up the animals.
Is it going to rain? No. We'll play. He kind of knew what I wanted to hear. There's a curveball to Duffy for a strike. Duffy's 0 for 2. He's popped out and he's bounced out. Down low.
Trying to softball him. Really had a pretty good command of all of his stuff tonight. John Lamb, the left-hander.
And tight, 2 balls and a strike. 71 pitches for Lamb. Back. Giants have 6 hits. 4 of the 6 are doubles.
Now Brian Price, that skipper for the Reds, is thinking Span's going to go. With Duffy, you can do a lot of things because he handles the bat so well. He's a good contact guy. Could hit and run him. Good approach to right field. Big hole on the right side. Meanwhile, Lamb continuing to throw over.
Duffy, it's a high fly ball in the left center field. Holt didn't see it at first, but now he does. Span's going to tag, and now he puts on the brakes.
I think he just missed it. Got out of the end of the bat just a little bit. And even at that, it took it all the way to the warning track in left center. And that's the deepest part of this yard. as far as carry. You get more carry to 404 straightaway center than you do to left center.
Buster's got a couple of doubles tonight. In tight, 1 ball and no strikes. Pence to follow. 1-0 Giants. Span goes. Posey takes it. Span will steal it.
Oh, he stole that easy. I mean, when he steals a base, it's not even close. So with Lamb not having a lot of history, he kind of represents an unknown holding runners at first base because you haven't figured out when he's going to first or when he's going to home. Well, they figured it out.
It's 3-0 to Buster Posey. Three and one.
Lamb has kind of slowed things down. See a lot of pitchers get more deliberate with runners that's on base, scoring position.
So Buster will take the walk. I think he knew that eventually was going to happen.
Well, with the 2 doubles that he's had tonight, this is the first inning. When they try to go in tight, he takes us down to left field. And he comes back up in the 3rd inning. And they go away, and well, so does Buster Posey. So 2 doubles both sides of the field, and that means as soon as Span stole the base at second, it probably was going to be that Buster Posey is going to have the bat taken out of his hands. But it provides a huge opportunity for the hottest guy on the team right now. That's Hunter Pence.
Pence doubled in the 1st inning and hit a fly ball to center field in the 3rd. It's a 1-0 lead for the Giants. It's been that way since the 1st inning. Pence out in front, and he's going to pop this one out of play. Belt to follow. Lamb to Pence. Low, 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers are in Tampa for a series. Arizona, they're in Miami for a series. Two and one.
He's pitching him carefully, but it's not like he has an open base with 1 out. I mean, that open 3rd base is really not available. You can't walk somebody instead of the bases loaded with 1 out. So he has to challenge.
There's a strike, 2 and 2.
Well, and he does so with a changeup. If there's such a thing as possible, a challenge changeup, that was it. Same pitch he started the at bat off with. Definitely not something that Hunter Pence was looking for. That was a good one.
3-2.
It's just softball, and a couple changeup and a big, slow rainbow curveball. And soft stuff away, sets up hard stuff in.
Well, Span and Posey, what'll they do? It's 3 balls and 2 strikes. And Lamb's going to just bluff them back. The other 2 NL West teams, by the way, the Rockies and Padres, they're playing each other in San Diego. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Runners do not go. Pence strikes out swinging.
So Lamb stays with soft stuff, and he throws another good changeup. I mean, it tells you how good the changeup is, because if you look at the location, this is high right at the belt. But it's the beautiful thing about a changeup is if you can really sell it with your arm action, which Lamb does, you don't have to have great location. That's a big strikeout for him.
Pence was thinking, that's a high fastball, and I'm going to get it.
That's exactly what he was thinking.
Here's Belt. Belt has walked, and he's popped out to left. And he pops this one back and out of play.
Another big, slow off-speed pitch, and Belt swung as hard as he threw that ball. Kind of waved at it.
Span is going to be picked off, and they got him. That is very unusual, but there you see it. 1-0 Giants.
Three-pack access to 3 games, including the June 25th game against the Phillies, and we're giving away a Madison Bumgarner bobblehead for the first 40,000 fans that day, courtesy of Chevron. Pack also includes a limited edition coin commemorating our 3 recipients of the Silver Slugger Award. For more information on the Silver Slugger 3-pack, go to sfgiants.com/mini-packs.
That coin looks like a good golf ball marker.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm going to get that.
I want to get that. I want to get that. I want to get that.
Here's Suarez facing Samardzija, and he rolls the first one foul. Look out. It skips up into the seats. Fouled out of play. It's 0-2. Samardzija with 1 walk. He's allowed 1 hit, and he's got 5 strikeouts.
Just a lover. Just a lover.
pretty pleased right there. Not
watching the game.
very anxious at all. No swing. 1-2.
It's pretty dogged.
Yep.
You don't need the choke collar.
1-2 pitch. Here it is. Off the shin guard of Buster Posey.
Good fastball burning in the hands. Suarez is a good-looking ball player. We talked about it yesterday when we saw him play third base. It looked a little funny not having Todd Frazier, the all-star third baseman, who's been there the last several years. Now he's in Chicago with the White Sox, and Suarez is trying to fill his shoes, and he's done a nice job of it.
And he got him.
Just threw it right by him.
Here's Adam Duvall. Duvall hit his first major league home run in a Giants uniform. Big, strong right-handed hitter. No balls and 1 strike.
That's a 95 mile an hour two-seam movement. And it's late, and it's just really handcuffing these right-handed hitters. What we learned from Adam Duvall when he was in a Giants uniform is he's quick middle in with plenty of pop.
Plenty of pop. Tucker Barnhart on deck. A 1-2.
So 2 pitches, mid to high 90s in on his hands with, and then he cuts 94 away, and that's just great use of both sides of the plate with 2 different types of movement.
High and deep into left field. Blanco back, gone. And this game is tied. So Duvall hits his 3rd of the year.
Well, he does it against his old team, and that's got to feel pretty good, especially when it ties a game. And that's a 2-strike home run. Very impressive. And look at the location. It was up. This gives you an idea of the type of pop that Duvall has in his bat. He lost his glasses, but he got a ball. All right, let's see. One more look. Well, you have a question here is whether or not he leaned over and interfered with this. That might be something the Giants take a look at. That look from the side there, when you're looking from the left field foul line, and Bruce Bochy is going to go out and talk to plate umpire Chad Fairchild, because they're not convinced it went over the wall. And I think they have a pretty good point. As the ball hit the heel of this guy's hands,
oh, then it caromed in.
It caromed in. I don't think that ball would have gone out.
I see.
I think they at least have an argument to look.
They're showing the angle we just saw now on the scoreboard. This replay review is presented by Xfinity.
Jim Joyce, the crew chief, on the headset.
I mean, that angle there, you can't see it. You really can't.
No.
That looks like a home run.
The other angle, when it caroms off the heel of his hand, That definitely altered the path of the ball. We'll see.
Is it enough? That's the question.
That is the question.
And that's the question that we've been dealing with for the last 2 weeks. Is it enough? And in most cases, it hasn't been enough.
This is the argument right here. Reaches out. He alters the path of the ball. And you have to imagine if the arc had been able to and allowed to continue, would it have stayed in the ballpark?
Gone.
So they just said there wasn't enough. I do not criticize Bruce Bochy for trying, because that I thought was close enough for an argument.
So here's Tucker Barnhart. And Barnhart takes a strike. Barnhart bounced out to second in the third. Swing and a miss. Nothing in two.
That's a project pitch right there. That's a pitch that he wasn't throwing at the start of the season. And we're being told now that that was not a Bochy review. That was a crew chief review. So they have not burned their ability to question a call.
Tomlinson, cut of the grass to Belt. And Lamb's going to hit.
So that's significant.
Yeah. I don't think we've really had a replay in a while that's really been. Oh, that's automatic.
Yeah, we haven't had an obvious in a while.
And you know, and I think, Mike, that when everybody was on board with the replay system, everybody thought that every replay would be one that you could define immediately. And it turns out that more than half are not.
Yeah. It really has been the case this first month of the season. I've been so many times we thought, oh, that's going to rule one way, and it rules the other.
Lamb's got the pine tar finish bat. Who was the one that we saw the other day? Oh, just make it the same color as pine tar.
Was it Story?
It may have been. That strike three call, that's going to end the inning. So Samardzija not happy. Duvall, he ties it up. It's 1-1. All-Star Teacher is brought to you by Provident Credit Union. You can vote. That's right. You can vote at csnbayarea.com/AST. The winner receives $20,000 for his or her school. Very nice. Thank you, Provident Credit Union. Here's Belt. 1-1 ball game. Things are different now. There's that slow breaking ball. No balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, all of a sudden start to feel the importance of that pickoff that ended the inning for the Giants in the top of the 5th when Span got picked off second.
'87 pitches for Lamb.
Lamb's been good.
Yes, he has. Belt has walked and popped out. 2 balls and 1 strike. Crawford on deck. Overshift is on. Nobody at the shortstop position. Now Suarez moves a little bit towards that spot. 3-1.
Well, I'm sure Belt's used to it by now. Just about every at bat that he takes, he sees this type of defense played.
Belt hits a high fly ball left field. Duvall moving over, and he's there, and he makes the catch. 1 out. So a nice comeback for Lamb, and here's Crawford.
Yeah, he's made some nice pitches when he's been in 3-ball counts, and really has been pretty good at mixing up all of his speeds and pitches. He's kept the Giants off balance.
Crawford double to open up the 4th, and he was stranded at 3rd. Bluffs a bunt, and it's 1 ball and no strikes.
Remember, Lamb came over to the Reds in the Johnny Cueto trade with Kansas City. Brandon Finnegan, who was impressive in last night's ball game, another arm. I mean, those 2 good left-handed arms.
2-0.
But Cueto goes to Kansas City. They win a world championship. Certainly worth the price.
Three 3-0. And the walk to Crawford. 3rd walk issued by Lamb. Tomlinson will come up. A 1-1 ball game here in the 6th. Tomlinson waiting on John Lamb. Crawford with his lead, and a strike. Foul back away from the target. They wanted that pitch in, and Tomlinson has got a quick bat, fouls it straight back. So Lamb now inching towards that 100 pitch mark.
There is some activity in the Reds bullpen. It's Tony Cingrani, their only lefty.
Got him.
Oh, good changeup. Strike out number 4. Just drops it on the outside corner with a little tail running away from Kelby Tomlinson, and he's not an easy guy to fool with off-speed stuff.
No, he's not. So here's Blanco.
There's Cingrani.
Blanco's popped out and he's bounced out. Jeff Samardzij's on deck. It's a 1-1 ball game. And that's rolled foul. 1-2.
And even 100 pitches on the night. And really, I think he's gotten stronger with his rhythm. Giants got him for a run in the first, and that has been it.
Crawford goes, and it's up high, so Crawford will steal the bag. That's 2 on the year for Crawford.
It's pretty cool when you can steal a base standing up, though.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Now timeout is called. A little high to Mr. Blanco. There's Crawford. See the Giants with 8 stolen bases already in May.
Well, it helped going through New York.
Hit out to left. Can Duvall get there? He's on the move, and he'll make the running catch. And that'll end the inning. Nice play by Duvall. So Blanco gave it a ride. Duvall tracks it down. It remains 1-1.
On CSN Bay Area is brought to you by Toyota, the full-line automaker with the longest-lasting vehicles in America. Toyota, let's go places. And by Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience TV.
Well, back here in Cincinnati, it's all knotted up 1-1 as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. And for Jeff Samardzij, who has been very solid tonight, he is going to face the top of the lineup for the Reds. But it is not going to be Billy Hamilton. Tyler Holt, who came in for Hamilton in the 5th inning. We haven't heard word as to why Hamilton has left the game, but this will be the first at bat for Holt this year, who's off to a good start. So Samardzij ready. And opens him up with a little sinker on the inside corner with a strike 1. For Samardzij, it's really important to see where his first fastball of the inning starts out, because the rest kind of follow. And here he is right back down around the knees as Holt fouls this one off his left foot. So Holt's going to need a little time to walk this one off. That dog is barking.
So 0-2 with De Jesus to follow. Poke to right, and Pence is there. What up?
If you ask a scout to describe that swing of the bat, he would tell you that was slappy.
Yeah, he'd also tell you that he put a pitch that was probably about 4 to 5 inches off the plate.
Just kind of pokes at it. Now I don't know how his front foot is feeling after he fouled off the second pitch on it, but there wasn't a lot of lower body in that swing. Slappy.
Slappy. Here's De Jesus, who's walked and popped out to right on a play that Hunter Pence came in and made a nice lunging catch. Joey Votto to follow, 6th inning. Swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike. .76. That's the number of pitches for Samardzija, and it's low. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Oh, I mean, he's been very economical with his pitches per inning.
On the ground towards the hole. Duffy cuts it off. Spins, throws, got him. Not a great play, but a nice play.
I think it's a fun play for any infielder when they get to 360. So let's take a look at the range to the left of Matt Duffy. 360, plant, strike, grab some pine.
Here's Joey Votto, who's struck out twice. And he takes wide. 1 ball and no strikes. Votto with a healthy rip and a foul, and that evens the count.
Yeah, he was definitely trying to give his team a 1-run lead.
Yes, he was. He had both cheeks into that swing. Samardzija looking into Posey. Boy, that's where he wanted it. It's 3-1.
He's not afraid to go inside.
No, he's not.
That was 96 with 4-seam movement, which isn't a lot, but on that side of the plate to a lefty at the belt, that's a good pitch.
And the walk. Only the second walk issued by Samardzija. And here's Phillips. Phillips singled up the middle. in the fourth, and that was the first hit in the game for the Reds. So Phillips waving the bat in constant motion.
Got to pay attention to Joey Votto. He will roll into a stolen base. Didn't get a lot, but he didn't get thrown out a lot either.
Fastball high, Mr. Posey.
Well, I will say this about Joey Votto at first base. His lead at the last pitch was about 3 feet. It's the kind of lead you see in an old timers game. It's not a big lead.
Look out. I have no idea how Phillips got out of the way. It's 2-0.
I don't know either, but I want him on my dodgeball team.
And that did not hit his shirt.
I mean, that is coming in hard. And this is where he'll get greedy here.
Span got a good jump, and he'll track it down, and that'll end the inning. No runs, a walk, 1 left through 6. Giants 1, Reds 1. The Toyota game summary, and it's brought to you by, of course, your local Toyota dealer. Samardzija, 6 innings, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. He gave up a home run to Adam Duvall that tied the game. Buster Posey's got a couple of doubles. Lamb pitched very well. He threw 103 pitches. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service. Your oil change tune-up and brake experts.
New pitcher now for Cincinnati will be Tony Cingrani, the left-hander, in his 14th game. I mean, numbers are good with the exception of 1, and that's the walks. I mean, 8 hits allowed in 10 innings. That's very good. 12 strikeouts is very good, but 9 strikeouts in 10 innings is too many. He's got a good fastball. He'll go low to mid-90s. Curveball, slider, changeup, and he'll use them all.
And Samardzija is going to take wide. Samardzija tonight is struck out, and he's bounced out to short. takes low. Three and 0. Well, you just want to walk the pitcher. As much as this Reds bullpen has taken some heat. And he throws a perfect strike at 93.
Well, the Reds bullpen deserves to take some heat. I mean, their ERA is in the 6s. And they have allowed runs to score the last 20 times the bullpen has been used.
Samardzija breaks his bat and rolls this one to DeJesus. So a nice comeback for Zingrani. 1 out. And here's Denard Span.
The record is 21. So, I mean, they're flirting with it. They're the only other team since 1900 to allow runs in 20 straight games as a bullpen were the Rockies in 2013.
Span singled in the 5th. He's 1 for 3. Tardy, no balls and 1 strike.
A healthy fastball at 94.
Out of play, nothing in 2. Duffy on deck. Out of play again.
I watched Barnhart, the catcher for the Reds. He wanted that fastball, but he wanted it up. Still, he brought his best bold at 94. And Span did well to fight it off. Catchers are always check to see how a guy gets back in the box. Some guys will move. They'll tip what you're looking for, what side of the plate you're looking for.
Curveball, emergency swing. Span stays alive, and he doesn't break his back.
That's a big league emergency swing. Breaking ball, no lower body, just let your hands sort of fight off, and that's what he did.
Got him.
95'd him down below the knees. So Zingrani has definitely brought some good stuff into this game. We've seen Zingrani as a starter, and he's got good stuff. Strikeout stuff.
Here's Duffy. Duffy's 0 for 3.
Reds defend him straight up.
And a strike.
It's just amazing when you look at how organizations set their defense and how they set their defense. After watching the Padres, that were the most extreme of any team we've seen the Giants play this year, and then to go into New York, and the Mets employed a lot of different defenses, but the Reds, more often than not, they've been straight up.
Maybe, just maybe, this ballpark has something to do with it.
Small ballpark.
Down low.
As Greg Papa called it yesterday, the Great American Small Park.
Yes, he did.
It is a hitter's. Oh, they love it. I was going to say it's a hitter's dream, but all right, I'm sticking to it. It's a
hitter's dream. Two outs, nobody on, 7th inning.
Gorgeous ballpark, though.
It's beautiful. 3-2.
Cingrani had one step heading back to the dugout. He thought that was strike 3, and that did not miss by much. I mean, just a bit inside. Barnhart hardly moved the glove at all. And we've seen worse call to strike tonight.
Duffy pops it up. It'll be Phillips. And that'll end the inning. Nice inning for Cingrani. Bottom of the 7th coming up. It'll be Bruce, Suarez, and Duvall 1-1. Blue Jays May 9th through the 11th. Monday it's Korean Heritage Night. That's the 9th. The 10th is Japanese Heritage Night. Wednesday day baseball at the Yard, 12:45 start. sfgiants.com/tickets. Samardzija stays out there, and he'll be facing Jay Bruce.
Tie score. Each person a little non-committal there.
Foul back. Bruce offering it that first pitch.
He likes strike 1 challenges.
Giants fans here. Seen a few around town.
Brought his glove. Gamer. And his game face, I might add.
He does. Down low to Bruce. Bruce has popped out and he's bounced out. A one hopper, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Hamilton left with a jammed left thumb.
Thanks to Jeff Samardzija.
Foul back, 2-2.
Get that breaking ball down.
I would have to lie if I got jammed by a pitcher. I would have to say no. I fell off my truck washing it. Foul back. I would have to call Jeff Kent and say, give me a really good excuse. Just tell him you fell off your truck while you were washing it.
Mind if I borrow that? Well, I agree with you. I mean,
he would probably laugh, right?
Now.
Yeah. Three and two.
Jeff Kent can be a little dry personality-wise. We love the guy, but I mean that's just what it is. He's kind of got the sense of humor of a CHP officer writing you a ticket. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bruce with a big swing and a miss. He got him. Strikeout number 8.
Goes upstairs and he gets Bruce to follow. A little cutter. He sends Bruce back to the dugout talking to himself. I mean, you can't send guys back to the dugout talking to themselves, and you get guys leaving the game because you jammed them and you hurt their thumb. Your stuff's nasty.
But you can't admit it. Suarez rolls it foul right in front of the Giants dugout. Just outside, not by much.
And that's the real hair.
Attitude, baby.
Gamer babes.
So Samardzija goes outside, now back inside. It's 2-1.
Yeah, cut with movement running away. Two-seam movement. 94 power coming in on your hands. You are half ticked off if you're the pitcher when he doesn't swing at it, though.
There's a pitch, 2-2.
Good slider.
See if he throws it again. On the ground to Duffy. Duffy squares up. 2 outs.
Oh, he's used both sides of the play well. He's throwing off speed stuff when he's behind the count. And if it wasn't for this guy at a 1-2 count, he'd have a 1-0 shutout. Duvall has been the Reds' offense. 5th inning solo shot. Really a great at bat in a 2-strike count.
And a strike to Duvall. Tapped to Tomlinson, and that'll end the inning. 1-2 inning for Samardzija. The beef are coming up. Posey, Pence, and Belt. 1-1.
Reds tomorrow, game 3, and you can have breakfast with the Giants because the game is going to start at 9:30. Pregame live at 9 a.m. You'll see that game right here on CSN Bay Area. It's going to be Jake Peavy on the hill taking on Dan Straley. Final game of the series, plus pregame and postgame coverage with Alex Pavlovich. All that and more right here at CSNBayArea.com. The official home of the authentic Giants fan is CSN.
When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change, tune-up, and brake experts.
So Caleb Cotham, the new pitcher for the Reds. And this is what he has done in 13 games. He's been good. 11 strikeouts in 13 2/3 against 6 walks. And he's got a good fastball. A little run up there mid-90s. He's got a good hard curveball and a slider. 3-pitch guy.
And a strike to Buster Posey, who's 2 for 2 with a walk. Outside and low, Hunter Pence, and then Brandon Belt. 8 hits in the game, 6 for the Giants, 2 for the Reds. 1 home run, and that's the home run by Duvall. Outside, 2 balls and a strike. Lamb was good. Samardzija still in the game. Posey out of play down the right field line. And it's 2-2. Sharply on the ground, and DeJesus has it. 1 out. And that'll bring up Hunter Pence. Belt on deck. Low for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes.
Good straight down bite on that slider. And 88, I mean, that's more of a cutter than a slider, but still, that's good tilt. Pitcher strike.
Right there at the knees. 1 and 2.
That's a great 2-pitch sequence right there with the fastball. He had a 1-0 count. He goes fastball away at the knees. He comes right back in, fastball in at the knees. And now he has a 1-2 advantage.
Not close. 2 and 2.
And there are folks here in Cincinnati that think that Cotham eventually is going to settle into that closer role. They really are doing a bullpen by committee right now. J.J. Hoover was supposed to be the closer, but he has had a tough time getting on track here early on this year. Just a wee bit low. How low was it? Not much.
So Pence will take the walk.
So a little respect with the 3-2 slider. And Hunter Pence not biting.
Here's Belt. Belt is 0 for 2. He did draw a walk in the first. And it's in tight for a ball.
wherever Barnhart, the catcher, is putting the glove, I mean, Cotham is not that far away from it. Trying to stay inside. They pitch most guys 6'5".
2-0.
Crawford chalk it up.
See if Bell leans on one here ahead in the count. 2-0. Overshift is on. Suarez now moves to the shortstop position. And a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike.
That's a nice little backdoor cutter and a 2-0. I mean, 2-0 count. The guy's got leverage on you as a hitter. I mean, he's looking for 1 pitch, 1 speed, and when you could take out that strike without him even swinging the bat, you've made a great pitch, and that's exactly what Cotham did. Perfect pitch.
Pence hustles back.
Cotham will give you a chance to steal. He's not that quick out of the stretch.
Belt tries to catch up to that fastball and he fouls it straight back.
Load time was 1.37. That's slow. Average is 1.25.
So 2-2 to Belt.
Look out.
An easy take for Belt. 3-2, and now we'll see if Pence goes.
Almost an ankle biter. Cotham came over to the Reds in the trade with the Yankees that sent Aroldis Chapman to New York.
Heads up, Hunter Pence.
Cotham, one of 4 guys that came to Cincinnati in that deal. 4 for 1.
Pence goes. Belt on the ground, foul. If it's a fair ball, Votto's going to be right there to grab it.
We saw him throw that little backdoor cutter on a 2-0. They want to go fastball in.
Pence goes. And same spot. Foul again.
Ball girl down there is picking it clean.
Yeah, she's getting the workout.
She's going, hey, yo, give it to the kid. And they are lighting this guy up.
What?
Well, she wanted to give this to a young man who's probably 9 years old behind him. And watch this guy. Whoop.
That's a violation. I would kick that guy out of the stadium.
You know what? That's bad.
I hope he didn't make good. Sounds like he did.
That is pure pressure right there.
Down the left field line. Getting to it is Duvall, and Belt better get in there. He does not. So Belt is thrown out. And now the Giants have a runner at third with 2 outs.
I tell you, I thought that Duvall, the left fielder, had made a mistake throwing to third and allowing Brandon Belt. I don't know if he got him or not. Giants are going to say, hold on until we look at this. I don't know if they'll challenge that. But I thought Duvall had made a mistake going to third base, but Suarez, the third baseman, made an unbelievable throw to even make this play close. And the Giants are going to review it. So did Brandon Phillips put the tag on before the left foot of Belt gets into the bag?
You can't really tell if he hit the toe or not.
You cannot.
This replay review is presented by Xfinity.
If he touched him on the knee, and that's the question. Did the foot get to the bag before he made contact with the knee? And I could see
they're not going to change that.
I could see why the Giants reviewed it, however.
I mean, you got him there.
Well, from that angle, but I'm not sure if he did. I thought there was some. It was visible that he didn't hit his foot. Let's see if does the mitt kind of bend back a little bit. I mean, if he doesn't get his toe, I think he beats it. It's just a question of whether he got his toe or not. So hey, Brandon Belt has not gotten in the dugout yet. Still, even if he's safe, it doesn't take away a pretty good effort from Eugenio Suarez, the Reds' third baseman. Given the way things have gone here in the last week, I don't think it's going to get overturned either. But,
well, it would be nice to be surprised. How about that?
It would be nice to be surprised. I mean, it would completely change everything. I mean, you're looking at a runner at second, third, and 1 out, as opposed to a runner at third and 2 outs. That's night and day. The very fact that it's taken this long, I think, gives Bruce Bochy some hope.
Some hope.
Now, from that look right there, if he doesn't touch his toe, I think he's safe. And I don't think he touches the toe. But if it's not an obvious, we're not seeing it overturned. And that is a huge play for the Reds.
So Crawford now is going to be left up to try to knock Pence in from third. Giants are 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position.
Well, they're not going to mess with Crawford. Not the way they've seen him swinging the bat these first 2 games of this series. They're going to put the pressure on Kelby Tomlinson.
Well, Kelby Tomlinson will give you a good at bat.
Giants have Connor Gillespie. They've got Joe Panik, who we've been told is available to pinch hit today.
Warriors Playoff Central with live Warriors pregame coverage is airing right now on CSN Plus. CSN Plus can be found on Comcast channels SD 105 and HD 780, DirecTV 696-1, AT&T 771 SD and 1771 HD. If you can't find CSN Plus, log on to csnbayarea.com or call your local cable operator, and then after that call Ted Griggs. Here's Tomlinson. And swing.
That's the first time that Kelby Tomlinson has ever seen the slider from Cotham. So that had some education behind it. Better to see it in a first strike than a third strike. Tomlinson likes to go to right field. Gonna come back with another slider.
Tap slowly, and this is going to get a run. And the Giants take the lead on an infield hit.
and that is the 21st game in a row that the Reds bullpen has allowed a run.
Placed perfectly.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you he practices this, but this is just kind of a gift for the baseball gods. And Jesus had to take a bite out of it. And look at the reaction from the Giants bench. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, it also gives Gregor Blanco a chance to hit. And he takes a fastball high. It may have been that Barnhart was crossed up. So as Mike mentioned, that's a record.
21 straight games allowing a run. And that goes back 116 years. Wow. And if you're the Giants, you want to try and add on to it.
Blanco with a jam shot out of play.
Fan made a pretty nice play. Well, the thing about Thomason is if he has any kind of a swing that results in a swing and bunt with his speed, you're not going to get a chance. Absolutely. Unless you're the pitcher.
Swing and a miss. Crawford at second, Tomlinson aboard at first. Blanco trying to add to this one-run lead. And he takes low. Good take, 2-2.
That's not an easy take, especially when you're seeing it for the first time. Two types of breaking balls, a slider and a curveball, and both of them were swing and miss type. That was a good one.
Samardzija on deck. Out of play. Down low.
Ooh. Close. Cotham wanted it. Some activity. Blake Wood, the big right-hander, stretching it out for the Reds.
Runners goes and a base hit into right field, and here comes Crawford. Tomlinson racing around. He's going to end up at third, and Blanco comes through, and it's 3-1.
Oh, what a great two-strike at bat. He tried to go inside, and he leaks it a little bit out over the plate at the belt. I mean, he didn't really have to challenge with a pitcher on deck. They're not going to take Samardzija out of the ball game. So kind of a gift, and he takes full advantage of it. And that costs the Reds a run. And now with Mike Riggins, the pitching coach for the Reds, coming out, that means there's a meeting on the mound. It's brought to you by Ring Central Business Communications made simple. It's unlikely that he's telling him how to pitch Samardzija. And Blake Wood, the right-hander in the bullpen with the Reds, I mean, he's ready to go.
Try it first. Start with that.
So here's Samardzija with Blanco going in a swing and a miss, and that'll be a stolen base.
They're stolen base on this road trip.
Little pop up to right. Bruce coming in, and it's going to fall foul.
The taking of second base for Blanco, I mean, it's just a heads-up play. If a pitcher's out there and he's rattled and he's not paying attention to you, take it. And Samardzija's a good enough pitcher to where he can make that hurt. Good enough hitting pitcher that he can make this hurt.
Here's the 0-2, and that'll do it. Samardzija broke his back. Hey, that's Giants tradition. Chili Davis started it. Giants add 2. And Samardzija says, killing me.
He's a strong guy.
Chili would be proud.
That hurts. Time now for our play of the game. It's brought to you by Honda. Jeff Samardzija is that man. Let's take a look at the line. 7 innings strong, 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, a couple of walks, 8 strikeouts, and he broke his bat over his leg. And you take a look at the 8 punch outs, and he's done it with all of his pitches. The cutter tonight has been between 92 and 96 miles per hour. He's throwing the sinker as high as 98. I mean, his stuff has just been electric. And we're making him our player of the game, brought to you by Honda. 3-1 Giants to the bottom of the 8th.
Here's Barnhart to lead things off. And Barnhart takes a strike, and it's 0-1. Swinging a foul into the mid of Buster Posey.
If you've ever tried to break a bat over your knee, you figure it out real quick. It's not a great idea. I mean, you just have to be a beast to do it. 101 throws on the night.
Got him.
Elevate perfectly.
Strikeout number 9. Problem is if you don't break it, now you got a problem.
Now let's take a look at it one more time.
You got to go more towards the handle.
Well,
not that I would know that I do it all the time.
Man, I guess there's technique with everything, but yeah. Bo Jackson, Chili Davis. I mean, I'm sure there's another handful of guys that have done it, but I won't forget it anytime soon.
This is Schebler. Schebler started yesterday, and he went 1 for 4. He knocked in a run. Here it's 2-0. On the ground to Belt. Belt to the wide receiver Samardzija, 2 down.
Let's look at this one more time from a different angle.
Yeah, let's get all the angles we can. Yeah.
I mean, that's just like bad kindling. Never even flinched.
Yeah. There was a time where we'd have got a bill for that.
That is not an exaggeration. That's back when the bats cost $11 too.
Back in the 70s, not a good thing. Here's Holt, who takes low, 1 ball and no strikes. Holt came in for Hamilton, and he had 1 at bat in the 6th. He had a fly ball to right field. And a strike.
Slider's been a good pitch for him all night. He opened up the game in the first inning with a snapping slider, and he's used it more tonight than he had in any other game. Javier Lopez, really the only lefty available in tonight's bullpen for the Giants.
This is a base hit down the right field line. Pence will spin and throw and hold Holt to a single, and that'll bring up DeJesus. DeJesus is 0 for 2. Now Pence made a nice play on a little bloop that DeJesus hit in the 4th.
Yeah, this was the first out of the inning.
Hang on, Hunter.
And it really was the best play in the game. At that point in time, Samardzija had not given up a hit.
And the first fastball is high, 1 ball and no strikes. 109 pitches for Samardzija. He's throwing nice and easy. He may be good. He won't be loud, but he may be good for 130 tonight.
Oh, are you kidding? Easy 130.
Good pitch to even the count.
Ivan DeJesus, a second-generation player. His father, Ivan DeJesus Sr., former Giant. Played with him in Chicago, Philadelphia, and San Francisco.
Yes, you did.
Pulpo.
Never heard you say a bad thing about him.
Oh, loved him. He was great guy, great teammate. His son's a solid citizen too.
Out of play.
Although he's much more likable in a Reds uni than he was a Dodgers uni.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know why that is.
And the 1-2 outside, 2-2. We did establish something on the wrap last night, though. That's the Giants now have their own Vin.
They do. Dodgers have theirs, the Giants have theirs.
And Vin got a win last night.
Vin Scully and the Giants version, Vin Mazzaro, who was the winning pitcher. Indeed.
Ooh. 3-2.
See Samardzija argue too often, but he thought he had one here. They set up in the outside corner, which is maybe why they didn't get it.
Yeah, and it may have been inside. Runner will go. Out of play. We'll do it again. So Buster Posey in a conversation with Samardzija, Lopez, Corey Guerin starting to play around.
See the career against Javier Lopez, who's warming up in the Giants bullpen, 1 for 10.
On the ground to Tomlinson. Side retired. We'll go to the 9th. Giants lead 3-1.
Baseball for Esurance Giants post-game live highlights, reaction, and analysis that is coming up right after the game. New pitcher now for the Reds. A reminder, when it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service, your oil change tune-up and brake experts. As we go to the top of the 9th, Giants with a 2-run lead, leading 3-1. The new pitcher for Cincinnati will be Blake Wood, who has been in 12 games. 9 walks in 12 innings. It's a hard thrower. You'll see mid to high 90s, and he will sink and cut the fastball. Slider and a split. What a big guy, 6'5", 240.
Facing Denard Span. And Span takes wide, 1 ball and no strikes. Span is 1 for 4. And a strike at the knees. Pretty easy 95. Duffy and then Posey. Ninth inning, just trying to add on a little bit. They lead 3-1. Fouled out of play.
Guys would love to get Span, who could steal a base on, because Blake Wood is not that quick out of the stretch.
He's got to fight. He's behind in the count. Look out. Ooh, it's 2-2.
Well, there's the breaking ball. I mean, you're just not expecting it. That almost hit both feet.
On the ground, it's going to be Phillips sliding and throwing, and they got him.
Well, we talked about his range last night. Really is a good example of it. Has always been able to go both ways and go wide. And here to his left, slides, and from his knee, a little flip throw to Votto. And he makes a hard play look easy.
And for him, that's not a hard play.
You're right. I mean, he loves it. And we've seen that through his whole career. Gold Glover.
Here's Duffy. Low to Duffy, who is hitless in the series. It's always odd when he's hitless in anything.
So Santiago Casillas starting to heat up.
2-0. Hey, Atlanta shut out the Mets.
Wow. Call 60 minutes.
They shut him out 3-0. Duffy with a swing and a miss, cheating a little bit on the 2-0 fastball.
Samardzija talking it over with Joe Panik. There's the line on Samardzija, and how dominant has he been? 9 strikeouts against 3 hits in 8 innings. 20 first pitch strikes and 29 guys he faced. He's had 4 3-ball counts. I mean, he's just been on top of them.
3-1.
That's when he came in, and you know what they're razzing him about? The broken bat. And I think his night has come to an end. And boy, was he something tonight.
3-2. Talking with Joe Panik. We need to get an update from Joe.
He said that he's thinking that he'll be able to play when the Giants get back to San Francisco Thursday. That's what he's hoping for.
Duffy will take the strikeout.
So a rare 0 for 5 for Matt Duffy.
And Buster Posey lifts it high and foul and out of play.
Yeah, that was 98. It had movement that jumped in on his hands. So Javier Lopez probably going to open up the 9th inning against Joey Votto. And then you're going to see Santiago Casillas. I mentioned Lopez's numbers against Votto are dominant. Well, for Jeff Samardzija, he had a great night.
High and deep to left center field, and Posey bangs one up against the bottom of the wall, and Buster Posey heading into second, and that's his 3rd double of the night. Guys that throw hard. Buster's never that impressed.
He really is not, and it's the second time in his career he's had 3 doubles in a game. Let's take a look at the pitch. I mean, that had some fuzz on it. They set the target away. It burns right in on his hands, and he inside outs it to left center. And right off the wall, about 3 feet from the ground. Stay hot.
So here's Pence, who takes a strike. Way outside. Nice play by Barnhart. Giants tonight with 10 hits. And this one finally goes to the backstop.
It was almost like he was trying to throw it by his catcher.
What do you think? Wild pitch?
Yeah. I mean, and he's throwing them hard. I mean, those are high velocity sliders too. And Barnhart, I'm sure, like any other catchers, feel like he should have had it. It would have been a great play.
Down the right field line, headed into the corner. Foul.
Oh boy, Hunter Pence not completely in agreement with that call from first base umpire Jim Joyce.
Bruce Bochy asked Billy Hayes, and Billy Hayes gave him the I don't know.
All right, let's take a look. No, foul. Good call.
So Pence will jump back in with a count 2-2.
Really not a reviewable play anyway, so.
Pence fouls it back.
Beg your pardon, that was a reviewable play.
2-2 pitch. Slowly hit. Phillips will get to it, and that'll end the inning. 9th inning coming up. Votto to lead things off. Central tonight at 11 right here on CSN Bay Area. You're going to get clubhouse reaction to this game. You're going to get some Warriors and Blazers coverage, and why wouldn't you? And you're going to get Sharks and Predators coverage. Yes, you will, all on Sportsnet Central. Giants 3, Reds 1 here in the 9th. When it's time for a change, think Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service. Your oil change tune-up and brake experts, and it's Lopez coming in.
15th time that Javier Lopez has come in. He's feeling pretty good about life. He got his ERA down in the 5s. Started out in the 9s a while back. Give you an idea how hot he's been. He really has been throwing great. And he'll face a guy that he has faced 10 times who's only gotten 1 hit off him. And that's Joey Votto.
So Votto tonight is 0 for 2 with a walk. And a strike at its 0-1. There's Phillips and there's Garcia watching through that little window. Looks like little kids looking through a knothole.
Knothole gang. Mark Gardner and Santiago Garcia.
In tight for a ball, 2 balls and 1 strike.
Just missed him.
I mean, in a lot of ways, this is the perfect guy for the Reds to have lead off the 9th.
Well, because he's got such a good eye, and he will take a walk.
Two and 2.
With Votto hitting .231 coming into this game, he still has an on-base percentage of .327.
Look out, and it hit him. So that's going to be it for Lopez. Threw a breaking ball that didn't break a whole lot.
It is a risk when you're a manager, because if the guy that you bring your left-handed specialist in gets on base, now your closer has to start his inning with a runner on.
So Garcia coming in. It's 3-1 Giants. Votto opens up the inning by reaching, and that brings Garcia in with nobody out to face Brandon Phillips.
New pitcher now for the Giants, Garcia. This is his 11th appearance. He's got 5 saves, 12 strikeouts at 9 2/3. And this really is a ballpark that he likes, because the mound here in Cincinnati is not high. And last night he came in and he had one of the best curveballs we've seen him have. fastball, slider, curveball, changeup guy. 2 types of fastball. Low to mid-90s with velocity.
Phillips has a hit in 3 at-bats. And the first pitch is in the dirt, dug out by Buster Posey.
That's a great play. The one thing you know about a breaking ball is it is going to be a predictable bounce. It's going to come up, and it's going to come back to you. But even so, I mean, I don't want to diminish the effort because that's a great play.
Foul to the backstop. It's 1 ball and 1 strike with Jay Bruce on deck. Garcia gets the sign from Buster Posey. And they're going to say he went around or it either hit his bat. It's 1 and 2.
I think he said he swung at it.
And Phillips is saying, can you ask?
And Chad Fairchild, plate umpire, says, I don't have to. I saw it.
Or I don't want to.
I don't want to. As my grandson would say.
1 and 2. Tap foul, and it remains 1 and 2.
All right, did he go?
I don't think so.
I don't either. Let's see why Phillips is upset. Close though. I mean, it's not a no-brainer.
Hit on the ground, foul. So do it again.
I mean, he's featured some pretty good 2-seam fastballs at 95, trying to get that ground ball that gets 2 outs. Hey, nice play. Atta bit. That's right. Give it to your dad.
Two and 2.
Curveball. Garcia wanted the check on the swing, but I think that was just wishful thinking.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Near the bag. Crawford, 1-2.
And that's what he was pitching for, and that's what he got. A jam shot, and it was just going to be a matter of whether or not there was enough ground ball there to get the back into the double play.
This is one where if you're the infielder, Mike, you're thinking that thing's going to roll up my arm.
That's an evil thought.
And it did come up right at the last second. Watch. Boop. Here's Jay Bruce with 2 outs. That's the curveball you're talking about right there from last night.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think the flatter the mound, the better curveball he has. And it just allows him to get that foot down on the ground quicker than a higher mound does.
Swing. You're going to miss 1 and 2.
And that's the one. That's great too. I mean, Buster Posey knows it, and he'll ride it. Well, you just don't see a lot of curveballs like it. Throw it again.
And he just got a piece to stay alive. Should Jay Bruce reach, it would be Eugenio Suarez who's on deck.
Come on, Jay Bruce. Stay focused. Stay focused.
Overshift is on for Bruce. And it's hit on the ground to Tomlinson. And that's the ball game. So a nice start for Jeff Samardzija and a nice win for Samardzija and the Giants. Samardzija was terrific.
Well, he really was. I mean, you know, you've seen him improve since the start of the season, and how he improved tonight. We've seen the dominant cutter and the dominant two-seam fastball. He brought that into tonight's ball game, but he also had an outstanding slider, and his ability to command the fastball down around the knees and up around the chest was impeccable. He was impressive.
So the Giants have now won 3 straight after dropping the first 2 on this road trip.